Hello and welcome to Coffee and Poop Play the Sad Story of Emmeline Burns. Except today, it's just me, Copy, playing by herself. I figured it'd be a bit of fun. I don't know, this seems like a really sweet sort of game, so I might just see how it goes. My name is Toma Andrews, and I am a victim of identity theft. It's all my Aunt Catherine's fault, of course. Most things are, according to Mum. Stealing Mum's favourite dress when they were both schoolgirls was bad enough, but stealing the name of her first and only daughter, now that's alone not many of us can think to within our lifetimes. My name was supposed to be Emilia. Mum has always loved the name Amelia. Emilia? I can't remember if I said Emilia. Am I so dumb I can't even read? Amelia. Amelia. Though I don't know why she wants to call me Amelia. Amelia, guys, if I was a girl. And Thomas if I was a boy, after her father. And then Aunt Catherine ruined everything. Aunt Catherine fell pregnant with her first child around the same time Mum found out she was going to have me. Their due dates were also very similar, only a few weeks apart. Though Mum and Aunt Catherine had never been particularly close, they spent more time together during their twin pregnancies than they had ever done over the last decade. They attended the same hospital for the checkups and went to the same support group at the Civic Centre, and their rocky relationship improved over complaints about bladder infections, morning sickness, and uncomfortable cravings for anchovies, Mum, and smoked cheese, Aunt Catherine. And then Aunt Catherine stole my name. Aunt Catherine is 1 year younger than my mum, but she always got things first. That's what Mum told me. She was the first to have a period, to pierce her ears, to have a serious boyfriend. She was the first to have a baby too. A baby girl. A girl called Amelia. 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 Mum didn't know what to do, having her dream name stolen away from her so suddenly. She had half a mind to confront Aunt Catherine about it, but didn't in the end. She'd only just begun to repair her relationship with her sister, and she didn't want to ruin it. But she was still annoyed. She still is. Mum could have called me Amelia anyway, but the name didn't feel special to her anymore, not when Aunt Catherine had used it. In the end, after much deliberation, Mum decided to go with her second option, Thomas. Since I was a girl, however, Thomas was out of the question. Was there a female variant of Thomas then? Thomasina? Thomasandria? Thomasetta? Thomasandra, that's my name now. Maybe not. There was Toma, however. Toma Andrews. I think Toma's a nice name. And that's how I got my name. That might explain why I don't like it very much. My name isn't really mine, like clothes that are 2 sizes too big. It doesn't fit me properly. It never has. That's because it was never intended for me. If I had been called Amelia, would my life be any different? Would it change who I am? I don't know, because I've never been an Amelia. I was just Toma, the weird girl with the weird name. And my name isn't the only weird thing about me. Ever since I can remember my mum had been obsessed with family history. She says it's like playing detective, peeking back into the past with only fragments of information, trying to find the truth. Mum took me to the library with her when I was small, so she should keep a watchful eye over my little blonde head while she delved into the annals of our family's long-lost history. There, she would spend hours and hours searching through the online databases and old archives, on the hunt for articles about Spencers, or the Kendalls, or the Lintons, or the Becketts, or the Bradfords. Fortunately, our family used to be pretty rich back in the day. Mum says it's a lot easier to research your family tree if you have come from a wealthy background. There are more records kept on the comings and goes of the rich as opposed to the street beggars and the paupers. That's probably because of the money. As soon as money's involved, people will pay attention to you. It was like that back in the 1700s, and it's exactly the same now. I remember that the floor of the library was hard, covered in dark green carpet that was uncomfortable and scratchy, and the walls were dull grey, like the concrete blocks in a multi-storey car park. Though Mum got me a library card, I always got bored within the first half hour or so. There are only so many times you can reread volumes of Goosebumps. Despite these inconveniences, however, I still found the stories Mum would tell me about my long-dead relatives interesting. The stories sounded like they came out the pages of a book, not real life, not history, my history. There were these stories about my great-great-great-grandfather, Zachary Kendall, who used to be a priest, but was fired from his post after he physically assaulted a member of his congregation while drunk on Christmas Day. Sounds like a normal Christmas to me. There are stories about my great-great-great-grandmother, Maribel Spencer, who ran away from home at the age of 15 to marry a middle-aged piano teacher, Roger Beckett. There were stories about my great-great-great-great-aunt, Rose Bradford, who was rumoured to be a witch and claimed she could cure any ache or illness with a sprig of holly. I don't know why, but these stories my mum told me of unknown people from unfamiliar times always resonated with me. Maybe it's because they weren't fictional characters or celebrities. They were real people. My family, a part of me. I wouldn't be alive right now without Zachary Kendall, even if he did beat up a member of his congregation. And I wouldn't be alive without Maribel Spencer, even if she did her thing for older men who could play semi-decent furlies. In a way, I owe them. I owe them a lot. I suppose what they say is true. Blood really is thicker than water. And speaking of blood, the local library wasn't the only place Mum's investigations led her. Oh no, that was just tip of the iceberg. She should take me to cemeteries a lot, not just this cemetery. Barrowby, All Saints, but cemeteries all across Lincolnshire, and sometimes even further afield, to Yorkshire or Leicestershire. The thing about family history is, if you get obsessed with it like Mum, birth certificates and death certificates stop being enough. Enough. Yes, because that's how you say that. Enough. You want to see real evidence of your ancestors' past lives for yourselves. Hence, the graveyards. Yeah, but that's not where they lived. It's where they died. Well, no, they didn't die there either. It's where they were buried. Lots and lots of graveyards. Every weekend, without fail, my mum would take me on a trip to a graveyard searching for ancestors. Ugh, family trips. Takes me back, hitting up the graveyards. Sometimes we turned it into a game. We challenged one another to see who could find Rose Bradford's final resting place the quickest. The winner got to choose what we'd listen to in the car on the way home. Being my mum's daughter, I hated her taste in music, and I was desperate to beat her. I got quite good at finding graves, if I do say so myself. Oh yes, that's something you need to put on the CV. Good at finding graves. Even though I was around 7 or 8, and my legs weren't as long as my mum's, I was able to beat her 9 times out of 10. I used to think she was going easy on me. Now, I'm not so sure. I just have a talent. I'm good at finding dead people, even if they've been dead for 2 centuries and all that's left behind are bones. Now just let me get just one thing straight. I'm not crazy. Now, are you sure? I don't think dead people call out to me or anything. I've never seen a ghost before, excluding the ones in horror movies. I guess it's just a coincidence. But it's quite a strange coincidence. Whenever I went to a graveyard with my mum, I just knew where to look, almost instinctively. My feet just happened to lead me to a tombstone, and via some strange skill I might have inherited from Rose Bradford, a self-proclaimed psychic, I was usually right. That might be why I was so obsessed with cemeteries, even now. Just like some people prefer hot weather, others cold, I like graveyards. They remind me of my childhood. Fun time spent with my mum, searching for my relatives. Okay, I feel mean for dissing it now. When I went out looking for graves with my mum, I was almost always right. Ever since I started attending St. Hugh's College, however, I've only ever felt wrong. Though I get good grades in most of my classes, I'm hopelessly lost when it comes to anything beyond that. I've hardly any friends other than Hattie, and even she might turn it against me if she knew how I felt about her. I'm nothing like Amelia Miller. Amelia. Oh, I can't remember what it was. Amelia Miller, who just happens to be in the same form as me. She's always surrounded by people. They all love her. Would they love me if I'd been called Amelia instead? I don't know. But I do know, even though it's unfair and ridiculous and I don't dislike Amelia, I'm still jealous of her. Her parents are still together, her dad has a good job, she has nice skin and pretty blue eyes, and she's incredibly popular. Hey, it's not all about looks, guys. I, on the other hand, am awkward and shy, and I can't hold a conversation with anybody other than Hattie. That might be another reason why I like graveyards. There are lots of people in them, but they can't bother me like they do in school. They're dead, and that's perfectly fine by me. And as the saying goes, dead men tell no tales. They only leave tales behind, which we can examine as we see fit. That's why I came to Barrowby, All Saints, this Friday. Instead of catching the bus to go to school, I just wanted some time off, a few moments where I can stop being myself, a person I've never liked. If only I'd been born as Amelia. Then my life would be so much better. Ah, here we go. Excuse me, I'm gonna have a drink. I would be so much better. The day is overcast but early autumn. A thick layer of fog creeps over the ground. The grass is wet with morning dew, but the soil beneath is firm and hard. I suppose that's to be expected. You wouldn't want to build a graveyard in marshland where people would run the risk of falling through the earth and into the graves. God, it's like a horror film. I might have the affinity for the dead, but even I fancy popping. Let me start that again. I may have an affinity for the dead, but not even I fancy popping in for an unexpected visit with the Gerald Fisher, 1843-1912, and Aline, wife of the above. It's cold too. The wind snakes down my spine and I shiver. It isn't a rough wind though. Instead, it's soft, brushing past my cheeks through my hair in an almost apologetic manner. The leaves on the trees are dark green, some already turning red and yellow, but the sun in the sky is obscured by clouds, so everything looks grey. My feet crunch over the stray leaves with every step I take, but that's the only sound I can hear. Just me, the wind, and the leaves. Oh, she's so pretty. What's she talking about? She's crazy pretty. It's all about perspective though, isn't it? As I walk through those well-trodden paths, I pause, examining each tombstone that catches my interest. There's something strangely inviting about these old slabs of stone, almost as though they're greeting me. And why wouldn't they? I come here often enough. They should know me by now. Any other mother would probably find their only daughter's obsession with graveyards unsettling. Fortunately, my mum is just as weird as I am, so she doesn't question it. She must know my love of graveyards is all her fault. I nod my head in recognition as I pass each tombstone. Alistair Doncaster, Irene Douglas, Charlotte Draper, Doreen Hughes, Abel Johnson, Genevieve Parsons, Aubrey Wedgwood. How the hell did I pronounce all those right and I got Amelia wrong? I wonder about these people, reduced to nothing more than their names and bones. What lives did they lead? Were they happy, sad, or merely bemused by the coincidences which led them into being? For Alistair Doncaster, what happened in 1879? For Irene Douglas, it was 1894. What was the world like back then, when these people were alive and their footsteps, not mine, crunched the leaves and fell firmly against the compacted earth? I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine it. As I walk through the graveyard like Alice sinking into Wonderland, a heavy thought suddenly strikes me. What would it be like if I was already dead? I close my eyes, and the cold wind blows across my cheeks, and I swear I can almost smell it. The earth in my nostrils, the scent of decay. That's a bit grim. Ah. What was that sound? It was almost like a footstep. But that can't be. I'm the only person here after all. At least, I thought I was. Not anymore. A young girl stands there, her arms held by her side, her eyes wide and blue. Her hair is loose, light brown, her fringe cut just above her eyebrows. She wears a white dress, long and modest, which falls to her ankles. She's pretty. Her dress is comprised of a number of layers, and looks like something that belongs in another era, another time. An England when Queen Victoria was on the throne and the horse and carriage was still the main way people got about. And it was socially acceptable to wear bonnets in public. Ugh, those are the days. All that famine. She looks like nobody I've ever seen before, except characters in period dramas. There's something so unrealistic about her appearance I can hardly bring myself to believe that she's really real. Maybe that's why I'm doing something I rarely ever do. My curiosity unsticks my throat and I find myself asking her a question. Are you going to a costume party? That would seem the case. Are you referring to this old thing? That dress doesn't look like some old thing. It's expensive, right? I believe it was rather dear when Father first purchased it. Now, however, I am not particularly well versed in the economy, so I could not give you an answer. Father? What kind of people calls their dad father? I'm sure plenty do. Maybe I'm just biased because my dad vanished before I was even born. Mum told me he couldn't cope with commitment, which is quite funny really because he had no qualms about commitment when he asked me to sleep with him. But father sounds too far outdated. and I haven't even touched on the other stuff she said. Oh, the girl smiles. Her face remains pale, but she does not flush. But I can imagine the blood coursing beneath her cheeks all the same. She gives me the impression of blushing, even though she does not. I suppose most people would use dad nowadays. Forgive me, I'm not familiar with such a phrase, and it sounds quite peculiar to me. The plot thickens. My question only seemed to invite more questions, and I found myself drawn to this strange girl despite myself. I don't know who she is. I want to understand her. Sorry about that, guys. I had just my landlord come in, talk to me, so now I can carry on. It must be this feeling, this desperate thirst for hidden knowledge, which encouraged Mum to track down what now remains of Zachary Kendall, Maribel Spencer, Rose Bradford, and the rest. So, I've not seen you around Brarby before. Do you live here? I have lived here for a very long time. Well, she's dead. But you don't look much older than me. I will be 15 years old this December. At least, I should be. So she's 14 too. 14. You say that you've lived here for a long time, but I've never seen you before. You don't go to St. Hugh's, do you? She shakes her head. So what school do you go to? Ruskin? Sandon? Not Walton Girls? She shakes her head again. Then are you homeschooled? That would explain what she's doing in this graveyard at 8:20 on a Friday morning, wearing such a strange outfit. She might as well have fled from one of those ye old fashioned photography parlour places. I have never heard of one of those in my life. I suppose I was homeschooled, yes. I've never been to school before. I used to have Ellie, but I have not seen her in some time. Ellie? A private tutor? Something like that, yes. She was rather strict, so she got angry when I escaped from her stuffy old history lessons and hid in the Lintons estate. She smiles, a soft and gentle smile, like an old woman with rheumy eyes and rheumy eyes. Okay, let's start this again. She smiles, a soft, gentle smile, like an old woman with rheumy eyes might when. I'm sure this is not. Yes, this doesn't sound right. Might when recalling a fond memory. Okay, I don't know if I've ever seen anybody my age put a face like that before. Just who is this girl? But you don't have a tutor anymore. There wouldn't be much point anymore. Is she one of those YouTube celebrities? She looks the part in those clothes. I can imagine her as one of those eccentric self-proclaimed living dolls who gets thousands of subscribers for eating food on camera. Oh, that'll be the day. Oh, just imagine me eating a whole pizza online on YouTube. Not even like, a little dainty, just full-blown whole pizza, garlic bread, everything with it. That'll be me. So, I'm sorry, this is the first question I should have asked you. What's your name? Emily. Oh, and now we have a name. Emily. I think I can remember that. It's a common enough name. There are 2 Emilys in my class, Emily Hargreaves and Emily Turner. I don't know if this name fits the girl in front of me, though. Emily sounds too simple, somehow. Unfinished, too. Like a sentence without a full stop. I don't investigate further, however. I hardly know the girl. What right do I have to ask too many questions? And if it would be not too rude, may I inquire as to what I should call you? Oh, I should have expected this. When someone asks for my name, it's only polite to ask them for. I should have expected this. When somebody asks for your name, it's only polite to ask for theirs in return. I don't like answering this question, though. I never have done. Just what is my name, anyway? It says Toma on my birth certificate, but I can't bring myself to believe that. Not when, as I was fated before I took my first breath, to be called Amelia. Oh my, do not look so troubled. You'll make me feel guilty. I'm sorry. What a funny girl. You don't need to apologise. She thinks I'm funny, does she? That kind of stings, given how peculiar she looks. Oh, bitchy. You don't need to tell me your name if you do not wish to. We all have our own secrets. Are you sure you don't mind? I'm quite sure. I could just make up a name for you instead. Well, I hope you are not so adverse to this suggestion. I rather like giving people nicknames. I would always call Miss Warren Ellie. Her first name was Helena, you see. But she got mad at me because of that, too. This girl has no manners, she would always say. She may have a pretty face, but she behaves like a gutter snipe. Oh, that's me. Gutter snipe every day. Not that I gave a button in what she thought. Not that I gave a whole button what she thought. I have to start using that in real life. Father was paying her enough, so I thought it best to make her work for her wages. She may have found me a little irritating, but I certainly wasn't boring. Well, I suppose it's fine. Then I can think of a name for you. Yes, it doesn't bother me. Anything would be better than Toma. Well, let me see. Emily looks me up and down, one finger against her lower lip. Her smile is teasing, and her eyes flash mischievously, like a naughty schoolgirl's in an Enid Blyton story. She'll be talking about condensed milk and tin sardines next, I'm sure of it. It is true we do not know one another very well, but that is just at the present. I feel that we could become quite close if given the chance. You remind me so much of her, after all. Can it be a mere coincidence? Her? I thought so from behind too, but when you turned around it became clearer than ever. You have her nose, and her eyes, maybe even her forehead too, but it's hard to tell, since it's covered in hair. Well, I look at the ground, suddenly awkward, and dig the tip of my school shoe in the dirt. I shift my foot slightly, making a small indent in the earth, a minute grave for an ant. I don't know if I like being compared to other people. I do that enough myself. Even if I do look like one of your friends, I don't think I want their name. I was hoping for a name of my own. Yes, of course. You don't need to worry about that. I would never be so callous as to dress you in a title of another. I apologize if it seemed that way. She does sound sorry too. Truly sorry. Even if you look like her, you're not her. You couldn't be. It's not possible. A sigh. So, let me see. A name for you. A name that belongs to you and only you. Ah! I think I have it. For now, you can be called Verity. Verity? Do you like it? It's pretty, much prettier than my real name. Emily smiles, her face flushing, though once more, it doesn't really flush. I just imagine that it does, with happiness. I'm so glad. I thought that virtue names might be too anachronistic for nowadays, but I'm truly fond of them. One of my aunts was called Charity, and my grandmother was Patience. Not that she was particularly patient. She used to hit my father with the smallest misdemeanors when he was a young boy. But that was a long time ago. Her face darkens, but only for a few moments. At any rate, I'm curious. Why are you in a gloomy place like this at such an hour when you should be at school? Oh, I just like graveyards, I guess. They're relaxing. Relaxing? That's quite a strange thing to say. Why do you think that? I'm not sure. I just like them. They're nice and quiet. People don't come here much. When they do, they're quiet too. It's the respectful thing to do. Apart from that, the local boys who tramp about here, drunk on Friday nights, and piss on their graves and scrawl words on them. I glance at a nearby grave. That is of Elijah. Or Elisha? Pharaoh. Somebody has scrawled across the top of it in a black marker pen, God is dead. It seems we have a Banksy of our own living in Barrowby. Who would have thought? And I think stories too. And I like thinking of stories too. Stories? Yes. Graves are small and the people buried underneath them are turned into names and dates. Nothing more. I think there must be more to these people than that though. What were their parents like? Did they have any siblings? What was their job? Were they happy? What about all the people they met? Whose lives they may have changed, without them even realizing it? I don't know about all those things. I never will. It's fascinating, but at the same time, it's a little sad. I blush, my hands hanging limply at my sides. Did I just say too much? I think I might have said too much. This is why I don't talk to people at school, other than Hattie. It's because I'm weird, and I know my fellow classmates, Emily Hargreaves and Emily Turner included, would just laugh at me. Well, maybe Amelia wouldn't. Amelia's too nice to laugh at anybody. That's what I think, anyway. It probably sounds stupid, though. No, I think you've made some good points. I did. Every person has a story. There's not enough space on a single tombstone to tell it. The sad truth is, there are so many people in this world, it is not possible to remember every single story. As the years go by, they fall by the wayside. The dead must always concede to the whims of the living, even in places like this. Emily looks back at Alicia, Farah's grave, decorated with the biting political commentary God is dead, and sighs. I like thinking of stories too. In fact, I could tell you a story of my own. I've been turning it over in my head for quite some time, and I would be intrigued to hear your response. I wouldn't mind. Are you quite sure? I don't want to bore you. I can't remember the last time anybody wanted to hear what I had to say. No, I'm quite sure. I would love to. There's nothing else I wanted to do here anyway. Nothing other than wonder, trying to avoid thinking about school next Monday and how much trouble I'd be in when it's discovered I've been playing truant. I always run away from my problems. I've done ever since I was a child. I must have inherited that admirable trait from my dad. Well then, if you want to follow me. Emily turns, her hair fluttering, and slips through the graveyard like a shadow. I follow her, curious yet cautious, as she leads me behind the church, where the trees are thicker and there are even more graves. She draws my attention to a tombstone, just one tombstone of many. It juts out of the grass like a tooth from a gum, slightly crooked. And it obviously needs braces then. A few cracks run down its dark grey sides, and the top grave is fringed with pale yellow lichen. The name engraved to the tombstone is a little difficult to see, impressed only shallowly, and I have to strain my eyes to read it through the fog. Oh, spelling error. I didn't explore the graveyards of Lincolnshire in my youth for nothing, though, and I'm more skilled than most teenagers when it comes to reading inscriptions on gravestones. Here lies the body of Philip Burns, 1807 to 1851, also Perdita Burns, wife of the above, 1811 to 1851, also Emmeline Burns, the beloved daughter of 1836 1851. May their souls rest in peace. I shift suddenly uncomfortable. Graveyards don't usually make me uncomfortable, but there's something about this tombstone that strikes a discordant tone with me. Something here just isn't right. They all died on the same year. They did indeed, and all on the same day too. I turn away from the grave, the final remnant of the unfortunate Burns family, and bite my lower lip. When I next speak, my voice is barely a whisper, even quieter than the wind. How do you know that? It's just a story. I already told you that. I suppose so, but when Emily said it, I didn't sound like a story. She sounded deadly serious. She looked serious, too. Her eyes narrowed, and her lips pursed, and her face stark white, as though carved from stone. The fog swirls about us like a veil. It's even thicker than it was earlier this morning. I can taste the fog at the back of my throat when I inhale, and I cough. It tastes cold, rank, and repulsive. The taste of death. Just who is Emily, anyway? She doesn't look like any girl I know. She doesn't look like any girl I know. She doesn't act like any girl I know. I'm almost tempted to believe, but that would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? So, should I tell you my story? I must warn you, though, it is rather dour. Then again, given our setting, what other kind of story could it be? You should already know how it ends. Okay, guys, and I'm going to stop right here. And I'm going to leave it for this episode, and we'll come back to it next time. Make sure to hit like and subscribe, and hopefully we'll get some more of this. Anyway, that's it for today from Coffee. Bye bye!